This video, just want to talk about some ideas that people can use for their teams in practice. Um, Obviously, you might like some of them, you might not like some of them. It's all okay. The whole goal is to just, give some ideas, inspire some ideas on your part. I thought it'd be pretty cool. Move, because I do a lot of mentality stuff, so I want to do something a little bit different. But, use your imagination. The first slide is just a few ideas for teams to promote growth and thinking across the board. The more intelligent everyone is on the team and understands the strategy, the faster the team will be able to grow. I spoke a little bit about weak links and player categories with diagrams in the process video. In my experience, there's usually a couple players that just come in and take command of everything from the start. This is good to an extent. However, if we want everyone on the team to grow and learn, they need to be able to have the chance to grow and learn rather than us control everything, right? When teams do this, the less assertive players just chill back and let the others handle everything. And at the end of the day, that's not promoting growth. Because of this, teams will usually suffer from plateaus because as a group, we're not forcing everyone to use their brain. We're just saying things like, this is what you need to do, or you misplayed that clutch, things along those lines, and then we just expect them to be better the next day. It is very important to understand that the brain is like a muscle. So if we want to promote analytical thinking, then we need to practice those skills and build them up. So the first 2 points we have here is have a different player run the recap before practice of the day prior, then establish that day's focus, right? And then have a different player assigned to running the AAR each day with one player as their backup. The focus of these 2 points is we are just trying to promote analytical thinking and accountability. This also helps everyone grow as a team because everyone is getting the chance to speak and lead. By having players take command of these tasks, we're forcing them in positions of thinking for the team plus improving their knowledge. After a couple weeks of this, it might actually start to help in rounds because everyone is actively thinking because they've again been using that muscle, been thinking, practicing that skill, building that skill. Each day, if you're following a similar schedule like the one I showed in the process, then we would have a recap before practice and then an after action review after practice. This means they need to spend time thinking about problems we faced, how we handled them, and what we did good throughout the maps. The last point, cycle through players recording a VOD review of a map for the team to watch individually or together. This last point, again, helps with game knowledge. This could be a solo thing, or if you want to have like pair players up so they do it together and record it. It's really up to your team and how you would want to do this type of thing, but maybe do it once or twice a week depending on the team's commitment and the kind of time you guys have, and assign players to record, you know, their review, and then either the team can watch it individually in their own free time, or you guys can watch it together as a team and talk about it. So this one we're talking about practice drills. Many teams don't usually do this kind of thing, which I find interesting. But the focus of this is we want to think about like a pro basketball player, for example. They shoot three pointers all the time like it's no big deal. In reality, they have spent, you know, countless hours practicing that shot thousands of times to master it. We can assume the same thing for pro league players and their training. A good example is Pixel on Cafe. There's some players that play Pixel on Cafe and just slay players repelling around the piano window, right? And we can think about, use the same concept as the basketball player is how many times have these pro players played in that position, challenged those angles, and spent time learning player patterns by watching VODs and stuff like that. So again, it's all repetition. They've played this spot thousands of times compared to you, right? The next bullet is pretty simple. Everyone has to become a good window player at some point. Um, as a team, we can run through drills and play something like round robin. One player on the window, one player repelled on the window and the other player in a room. Whoever wins continues, and then a different player takes up the other position. The next one is playing in positions, power positions and gaining experience dealing with those, which is kind of the same theory we talked about with Pixel on Cafe. Rafters on Clubhouse is another good one, but just common areas where players are playing and just practice, against them, gaining that experience for them. So then when they go into game day, they have a lot of experience in that position dealing with stress and all that good stuff. Everyone should know what peaks are, but if not, two players will stand on opposite sides of an area and practice peeking against each other doing gunfights. I think Cafe and Coast are pretty good for this. Then we've got two VXs and one VXs, which are self-explanatory, but the goal is to have players deal with stress and gain experience like in anchor positions or entering the building, whatever, right? And then the droning drills would be pretty similar. I mean, obviously you should practice your droning with your entry and pacing and everything, just dry running droning. But you can also pair these up with the 2VX or 1VX where you have your two anchors in a room, your other three players droning in, entering type thing, and acting off of intel, practicing communicating with each other, all that stuff. And then same thing with the players on the anchor positions. They can practice their comms and 2v3 situations, what they're watching, all that good stuff, right? Then we've got VOD review and copying the blueprint, right? So we could go into a VOD, watch some pro players, um, pull up a blueprint of a map. If we see their setup, we could put it in the map and then problem solve on how to deal with it, or it could be rounds that your team faced recently in scrims, whatever it might be. And then the last point is destroying, maps completely to learn angles, helps gain map knowledge. This would be more for, I would say, mid T3 and below rather than, more experienced teams. So our next slide here is scrims. We have a couple, different ways to approach scrims, right? So most teams I've met with just do the same thing every day, which is their defaults, and it's good, but it doesn't really force them out of their bubble or to learn, right? So if we do different types of things, you're pushing your team out of their bubble and trying different things and gaining experience and knowledge. So overall, they should be pretty basic. You don't want to get too complicated, um, but super useful. And the last major point is this practice is not the most important thing is when we do these type of things, it's not we're not going out to win the scrims, and I feel like that's just such a big problem with teams is they're approaching scrims like they're out to win them, and you should be really approaching them to grow and learn. So if you do these types of things, the whole point is to push your team out of its comfort zone and gain experience and try to grow your skill cap, right? So by doing it, you're gaining a little bit of repetition and all that stuff. So first one, free flow is all about practicing droning, gathering intel, and acting on that intel. Shouldn't be using or tried to avoid using your standard strats. Again, we're trying to learn. We're not trying to do our typical thing, right? Pushing ourselves out of the comfort zone. So in this one, the point is to play on the other team's weaknesses based on intel. This also puts a lot of pressure on your IGL and flank watch. The IGL obviously has to call takes and adaptations on the fly. The flank really has to do their job well because you're not playing your typical style, so they need to be having good pre-placed drones or asking for drones in specific areas and really paying attention to when they should be taking the time to hop on those flank drones or telling the team that they're off them and maybe someone else can take over that job, whatever it might be, right? Next one, roam clearing day. Pretty simple. Every attack that we do, we're going to be practicing clearing roamers, right? Obviously, as we after we clear the roamers, and we're going to take the site and all that stuff. But the whole point of this day would be to just roam clear every attack. Practice that, right? I can't say enough, but it's really important to get that type of repetition in so that when you go to game day, it's second nature, right? Next day is aggressive day. Overall, the whole point is to up your aggressiveness and pace. This doesn't mean act like an idiot, but something like on defense, we're going to challenge their entries into the building every round or something like that, right? Again, we're not playing to win, we're playing to practice and learn so that when we go to game day, we're that much better. Next one is hotfix day. This could really be incorporated into every day, but it's focusing on our adaptations and improvement round by round. So this one's definitely going to require discipline and focus and talking about what we can carry into the next round or test solutions from an issue in the last round, right? This is a really nice one because it practices, again, discipline, resetting mental each round, and communication and, focus, right? The last point, or sorry, the next point is practicing leadership and helping players think about the strategy. So we would assign players a round number prior to the scrim to shot call in the op and prep phase, and then the IGL would execute that plan. So I think that's a pretty good one because, again, it's forcing people out of their comfort zone to think and all that good stuff, right? Many teams suffer from not having a co-IGL, especially on split takes. This one is really nice because, again, practicing leadership, communication, thinking. This is probably going to be rough for the first week or so, but maybe 2 weeks or depending on your team. But at the end of it, right, or as you get more comfortable with it, then you're going to end up with a full squad that can think and make good decisions, right? Because they practice their leadership skills, thinking about the round, all that good stuff. The last point was slightly covered in previous points, but we always need to practice the art of letting go and resetting round by round so that we can create that comeback potential for game day if we're ever down severely. This next slide is activities outside of practice, which is an interesting slide to me. I see tons of players playing things like Minecraft or whatever outside of practice, or just not really playing the game outside of practice in general. However, if we have real ambition to go into CL or PL, we need to outwork the competition, right? This is more of for the committed players compared to the hobby players. So first up, we got something that I think everyone overlooks, but in reality, it's one of the most important things. Everyone should be able to record their perspective with comms and then watch a map of themselves once or twice a week to fix micro problems. This will really help you grow and be consistent as a player. The next one, a lot of people might think is stupid, but I'll tell you why I think it's good. Playing games like chess, Go, or Warcraft 3, or any other strategy games will grow your thinking and analytical skills, which you can then translate into Rainbow Six, right? A game like chess, for example, will help with strategy, problem solving, stress management if you play blitz chess, quick decision making, thinking moves ahead, and looking at the whole picture instead of being tunnel visioned, right? Because usually we'll have like one or two players who are trying to command the round and looking at the whole picture, and then we have these other players who are very tunnel visioned. Again, the mind is no different than a muscle, so we need to promote critical thinking by using our brain to do things to achieve it, right? Next up is watching PL players streams. Don't really need to spend time talking on this. Just go to Twitch and see who's streaming, right? Then we've got, which I think is another overlooked one. Tons of people spend like 30 minutes to an hour on aim trainers. Um, And I think aim trainers are useful to train, but in reality, it only really helps your mouse hand. And in a game like Siege, where movement is so crucial, you really should spend time doing movement training with lots of T hunts or just in a custom map by yourself. Um, but there's plenty of videos on T hunts, so just go look them up. The last one is more of a miscellaneous training, but this I love the saying so much that, you know, I always say it all the time in my videos or with teams I meet with, but if we want better, then we need to be better, right? So take the time to read articles, watch videos of things like communication, teamwork, leadership, or anything else you can think of that applies to the team and the game. And then I always like to leave the video like this just because, you know, I find this stuff very valuable. And I think it's, you can translate it into your team and your gameplay. So I think these are some pretty decent ones. So I'll just leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope you enjoy your day.